And a very good evening to you all. This is the Ranting Brummie, and we're back with another browser game playthrough. And it's been a while since I've done one of these because, quite frankly, the trauma of playing the world's hardest game a few weeks ago probably still hasn't quite subsided. I think I'm still having PTSD dreams of little squares running into blue blocks, or is it the other way around, or whatever it is, I don't know. But we don't want to remember that. We want to try and come back to something a bit more genteel, something a bit more interesting, amusing, shall we say. And that's what we have today with this. This is called Kyle is Famous. And essentially, it's, I suppose, a text version of the Stanley Parable. For those of you who recently watched NerdCube's review of the Stanley Parable Ultimate Edition, you probably know what I'm on about. But yeah, here we have Kyle is Famous by John Zimanski. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it. But I suppose really, before we begin this game, it isn't really a rant as such, but an observation. I suppose texting video games can be a very hard thing to do right, and many games are filled with tedious dialogue that makes you want to skip quickly through. Others are genuinely engaging and they encourage you to stop and listen rather than just mash the button and carry on. And I suppose that's what makes text adventure games such a difficult task. You think back to some famous ones like The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy text game, I suppose possibly even going back to AI Dungeon, and the variables that has. That obviously is a self-generating form of text game. But I suppose when text is all you've got to make sure that the writing is good and people want to stick with it. And I suppose games like Fatan, The Tales of the Creeping Madness, but that also had other role-playing elements and other visual components to help spice things up. And this game, Kyle is Famous, is essentially pure text. Now, this is the itch.io version, rather than the extended version that there is on Steam. There's actually a complete edition, which you can get on Steam now. But of course, I'll leave a link to the game in the description. And of course, if you do like this video, why not hit that old like button, tap the old share, and maybe even subscribe to the channel as well. And this game has a number of possible endings, all of which are quite bizarre, I have to say. Probably not going to get through all of them, I think, in this video. I suppose to describe this game, it is like the Stanley Parable. It was made up only of text. Well, it's got a relatively simple premise. You're a celebrity interviewer by the name of Kyle. Hint, hint, his name does not rhyme with... Who's that guy? Jeremy Kyle. It's not him. No, I had to think for that for a minute there. It was the music somehow seemed to stop and let me pause. Thank you very much for that music. Yeah, it's not Jeremy Kyle, obviously. But you have to prepare for an interview, and things will go very, very differently depending on your choices. You've got 30 hours to prepare, which may not seem a lot, until you realise that every choice you make reduces your time by an hour, and this can make things actually go very quickly. I think an average playthrough of this game takes around 5 to 10 minutes, depending on your answers. That in itself is a bit of a hint as to what our next video is going to be, if you all know what I mean. Of course, you have to try and do your best to have a good interview, but most of the fun in this game, of course, will drive from the many, many paths you can go through and find the other endings and seeing what kind of insanity awaits. I mean, will you end up stealing a cardboard cutout and interview that instead? Will you find a secret land full of elves, funnel orphans out of a tap, causing them to create a global empire? This game really does shoot off into some very crazy and unexpected directions. And I suppose given the game's short length, you have to obviously try and want to get through and get all the various endings, but obviously the initial choices at the start might get a little bit tedious after a while. I think on the Steam version you'll unlock more things or to do or so as you go along, and unlock more career choices for the titular Kyle to pursue instead. But ultimately, I think the main enjoyment of this game will boil down to figuring out how to find new endings. And the game does keep a track of the ones that you found, and it helpfully categorises them as well to give you an indication of what you're missing. Regardless, though, you'll still be seeing a lot of the same story beats again and again throughout the journey. And of course, they can be quickly skipped through. But what we'll do is just do our first playthrough and see how we get on. So bring on to the start. Okay. And that's the end of the music, which is a bit of a shame. Okay, Kyle wakes up. He is famous. That's good. Kyle is the host of the most popular talk show in recent memory, Stay Up Late with Kyle. Of course, Jeremy Kyle originally started out as a radio host on Birmingham, and quickly that got very, very boring. I think he was part of the production team that married two complete strangers on what is now known as Free Radio Birmingham. That was BRMB back in the day. Curious, that one. Right, on we go to. Stay Up Late with Carl has grown in popularity quickly in the last year, and the public has noticed. Inside, some kind of fictional magazine of some sort, has called Carl a most excellent dumpy white man. Okay, maybe he could be an English Terry Wogan, perhaps? I don't know. Top Tech noted that Kyle is inspiring youth to explore STEM fields. As in stem cell research? Or anyway, well, he's encouraging kids to explore the fields of engineering. That's a lot better than getting them become environmentalists. Most of the talk shows are dedicated to discussing Kyle and his personal details, and of course a lot has been made of Jeremy Kyle himself. But most online videos are best of clips taken from Kyle's latest broadcast. Podcaster as well. The eye of the world is upon Kyle. Right, on to the next one. Tonight is Kyle's most important guest interview yet. Who could it be? Maybe the Prime Minister, President of the United States of America, the inventor of the water-powered scramjet, maybe? Stay Up Late with Kyle featuring Rachel May. She's a kind and lovely philanthropist. Oh, how nice. She's dear to the hearts of many. This interview requires preparation. I dare say it does. Of course, suppose in real life somebody like Jeremy Kyle would have lots of people and lots of minions who would do this sort of thing for him. Okay. Kyle cracked his eyes open, knowing today his last chance to prepare for the interview. Kyle has 30 hours left. He must choose his actions wisely. So here we go. This is going to be our first choice. Start preparing. Okay, Carl's first decision of the morning was made wisely. So we have two choices here, either wither away or exit the bed. And of course, every choice we make will reduce our interview time by 1 hour. So it's kind of 30 clicks for every kind of playthrough. And I suppose the best thing for us to do is get up. And of course, funny enough, that does remind me of playing the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy text-adventure game. If you went back to bed, of course, your house was demolished to make way for a hyperspace bypass. I don't think that's going to happen in this game, but let's exit the bed. Carl exited his bed and took a quick glance around his bedroom. So we can open the closet, scavenge to something, consider his desk, or we can exit the bedroom to the hallway. Let's exit the bedroom. Carl walked into the small hallway that connects the rooms of his apartment together. We can either leave the apartment altogether, check a locked door, move to the kitchen, or return to the bedroom. I think if we left the apartment, we'd still be in our pyjamas, wouldn't we? So that really would be like half a dent. Okay, let's go into the kitchen and see if we can have some brekkie. Carl walked to the centre of the kitchen. We can check the pantry. Ooh, very middle class. Or we can open the fridge. Let's see what's in the fridge. Maybe some smoked salmon or a cold sausage, or maybe even some orange juice. Okay, Carl opened the fridge intending to find something to eat. We can either eat the crust on the fridge wall, prepare breakfast, just eat the condiments, or we can eat the fridge. Now, if we ate the fridge, we would technically eat everything in it, and that would count as breakfast, I suppose. I dread to think what kind of crust is on the fridge wall. It's not necessarily specifying it's a bread crust. We could just eat some ketchup. Let's just prepare ourselves a nice, nutritious breakfast. Carl constructed a breakfast of poached eggs and toast along with a small fruit cup and grilled sausage. There you go, told you there was some sausage in there. We can either eat our breakfast, or we can smash our breakfast. Probably a good idea to eat it because I don't fancy the idea of chewing on porcelain. Kyle ate his breakfast slowly and thoughtfully, enjoying every bite. He felt refreshed. That's good. Let's return to the kitchen. We can talk to the hallway or check the pantry. Return to the hallway. What else can we have? Let's return to the bedroom and see if there's anything we can do. Oh, we've got to get dressed, haven't we? So let's open the closet. It was dark and you can only really see his hanging shirts. We've only got 20 clicks left, so let's choose ourselves an outfit. Carl decided to take some time to choose the perfect outfit, knowing how important appearance is. We can have jeans and swimming goggles, skunk pasties, a suit of armour, or a slick suit, which I think we'll stick with. Carl miraculously crammed his dumpy body into the suit. One knows how he feels. The chest pockets are filled with random knickknacks. Back to the room. What happens if we sit at Carl's desk? Yeah, we should do this, definitely. Made over his way to the desk and sat down. Let's write some notes for the interview. Okay, are you a mother? Am I a mother? Is your mother a mother? These are the kind of questions you should be asking Sir Keir Starmer, not Rachel May, the philanthropist. Hint, hint, political. Yeah, and I suppose she'd probably come up with more of an answer than he would. We're collecting items, as you can see at the top here, and we've had a breakfast, and I don't know what this is. They're not clickable at the moment, so they're still on our desk. Okay, are you a mother? We'll ask that one our question. Diet tips, beef, ever eaten a raw egg whole? That's the question you'd ask Sylvester Stallone. That one is something you'd ask somebody who's 100 years old. Diet tips, we'll go with that one. Can't answer the third question. Do you ever smile? I purposely ran over a puppy. Charming. Right, funny story. We'll go for that one. And I'll get the last question. What's your guilty pleasure? Do you feel guilty? Are you guilty? Of what crime? We don't know. Guilty pleasure. We'll do that one. Kyle ripped his notes out of the notebook and he got up from the desk. Let's go back to it. Let's go back to the room. We've only got 9 hours till the interview, so let's go to the hallway and leave our apartment. Okay, so Kyle went out into the middle of the road and took a long, pondering look around him, so he can visit the downstairs neighbour, visit the tech store, or return to the apartment. Let's go to the apartment. Kyle walked into the clean white tech store. He is greeted by Techno Jim, an elaborate cutout mascot with flashing lights. So we can steal him, or ask the attendant for some free samples. Let's do that one. Kyle asked the store attendant whether or not they offered any free samples to important customers. The attendant gave Kyle a confused and slightly vacant look. Kyle began to beg for a free sample. Our interview notes seem to have come up on here. I don't know what that one is. Symbol is in the middle. Let's go for some more. Once Kyle to leave, the attendant grabbed a decrepit phone, went for spare parts, and held it out. Shall we grab it with our hand or grab it with our teeth? Grab it with our hand. Now, we've only got 2 clicks left. Kyle took the phone pleasantly from the outstretched hand and quietly said, "Thanks for your service." Okay, so we've got 1 more click. Okay, Kyle now has to use this phone forevermore. What a shame. So we've got a broken phone, some interview notes. We apparently had some breakfast, and I still don't know what this thing in the middle is. Can we go back to the store? We can give a review of the free sample, or we can just steal Techno Jim. Let's just return to the street. Right, okay, now that's all of our preparation done. Everything else now I think is in the hands of the game itself, and all the choices we've made I think will influence what happens. I think we've gone for a bit of a vanilla approach on this one. Right, more. Carl hurried to the set. Sitting across his host chair was a glamorous woman with an air of genuinity. As Carl approached her, Rachel looked up and smiled. So let's approach Rachel. "Good evening, Carl," she said, looking him in the eyes. "I've been looking forward to being here." Carl responded. Okay, we've got some choices now. We can scream and spin round in circles or answer politely. Again, we're doing a very vanilla playthrough for this first one. Let's answer politely. "And I as well, Rachel," answered Carl, extending his hand in greeting. "You're a most welcome guest." And we shake hands. After a mild exchange of pleasantries, Carl and Rachel were prompted to take their place for the broadcast. Music's just come back on again. Again, we start the broadcast, and I wonder now if this is going to give us some kind of summary of everything that we've done. Okay, so a moment after seating, the studio lights brightened and the cameras clicked on. "Good evening, everyone," said Carl, looking into the camera. "Welcome back to Stay Up Late with Kyle," introduced Rachel. "Tonight I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction." Carl motioned to Rachel, who smiled and waved at the camera. "Hello, Carl," she said. "I'm glad to be here." "Well, I'm sure we have a lot to discuss, so we might as well dive right in," said Kyle. "I'm very ready," said Rachel, with a winning smile. Yeah, kind of some dead ringers that, I think, with John Coleshaw doing his impersonations of Tony Blair. Okay, Carl produced the notes he had taken earlier. So let's start off with her funniest story. "You've been involved in a lot of different things," said Carl. "What's your funniest story?" "Oh, that's a great question, Carl," said Rachel. Yeah, that certainly seems very smug. I wonder if she's related to Theresa May in any way. "I think the story I always remember is the first time I tried to make dinner for my family. In the soup I made, I swapped out the water with milk and tipped the whole jar of salt in the pot." Well, she'd be no good on MasterChef then, would she? "While my family was sick from trying to eat it, I swiped their things and locked myself in my room." Crazy lady. Rachel laughed elegantly, having just given her family food poisoning. Carl decided to move on. Let's go over the diet tips one, shall we? "Rachel, you managed to keep such a thin and healthy figure," said Kyle condescendingly. "What is your best diet tip?" "Well, a good diet starts with a plan," answered Rachel. "And don't break it. Cheat days can turn into a habit." "But," she continued, "that doesn't mean a midnight snack here or there isn't allowed," she smiled. Yeah, that's kind of what my dad does. Carl looked at his flabby self, decided not to comment, and moved on. Okay, so we've got 2 more questions left. Are you a mother? We'll go with that one. Rachel and many others would love to know, are you a mother? Carl looked up from his notes. Oh, being a single woman with a career, she answered. That's not something that has crossed my mind. Rachel smiled genuinely at Kyle. How nice. Very reasonable indeed, said Carl. He referenced his paper of questions. Carl asked another question. What's your guilty pleasure? Well, we all have one. What's your guilty pleasure? Ooh, that's an easy answer, said Rachel, dipping pickles in chocolate sauce. Yuck. It might sound a bit strange, but it's tangy and sweet at the same time. I eat it far too often, Rachel smiled sweetly. After reading his final question, Carl looked up from his paper, and the music starts again. Some rather bizarre reason. Well, Rachel, he said, I think that's all I was planning on asking you. If that's the case, Carl, may I ask you for something in return? Asked Rachel, smiling one more time. Do you prepare for your interviews advance because you seem very together? Before Carl could answer, the camera shut down. The broadcast was over. Carl returned home, knowing the interview had gone well. But as he lay in bed and drifted to sleep, he felt, perhaps, something was still missing. Carl prepared very well. So that's our first ending. Okay, let's reset the game and try something a bit more. Oh, we've got some other options here as we go for our second one. Okay, let's browse social media. Scroll through the activities on his phone. Let's read an article. Stay up late with Kyle, ranked number 1 and number 2 on television. Okay, don't know how you can do that. Newey's bridge being constructed after being found to not actually exist. Authorities investigating. On the day-to-day tonight. Let's read some more. Another grand larceny in crime spree streak. Evidence points to perpetrator fleeing the country. Okay. Rachel mates unexpectedly leave the country on very, very long vacation after interview tonight. Interesting. Who is the bug vigilante recently spotted pursuing larcenists? Shouldn't that be locusts? Never mind, that was a terrible attempt. Ooh, Carl failed to show up at several charity events. Well, let's get out of bed and what does scavenge do? Carl quickly crouched down on the floor, realising his immediate need either for gossip, resources, or bugs. Let's go for bugs. Carl started to pick between the fuzz of his bedroom carpet, hoping to catch a stray beetle or two. Soon, he had a small handful of various insects dead or alive. We can either eat them immediately or save for later use. Well, let's eat them and use that instead of breakfast. Carl threw back his head and crammed a sticky, wriggling mass into his mouth. He felt refreshed. Back to the bedroom. Let's go out to the hallway. We can't really leave our apartment straight away. What's this locked door? Carl walked over to the strange door in the hallway, but found quickly that the door was locked from the inside. We can go back to the hallway, or we can force the door with our forehead. Let's headbutt the door. Carl decided it would be for the best to try and force the door open with the use of his face. Boom. After smashing his features into solid wood for good several minutes, Carl gained severe short-term amnesia. Let's go back to the hallway. Return to the bedroom, and let's put on a different suit, shall we? Let's choose an outfit. What shall we have? Let's go for the suit of armour. Oh, that's going to be good. Oh, Carl was unsure of what exactly caused him to decide to wear his armour, but it felt like the right thing to do, and because we've just decided to do that for him. After much squeezing and sweating, Carl managed to wrap the metal suit around his dumpy self. Carl returned to the centre of the bedroom, and we haven't got too many hours left, so let's leave our apartment in our suit of armour. Let's have a look at our downstairs neighbour. We've only got a few clicks left, so let's try and make the most of this. So Carl walked out in the middle of the road and took a long, pondering look around him. Kyle approached his downstairs neighbour's door and knocked. A middle-aged woman named Gabby answered the door. She looked at Carl expectantly, so we can give her a nice, pleasant conversation. We can eat her, or we can scream and spin. So let's try that one. Slowly, Kyle started to twirl outside of Gabby's door, arms outstretched. He tilted his neck up backwards and let a long, passionate and meaningful scream. Oh, no sound effects there. Okay, fair enough. There are some sound effects in this game. They tend to be a bit few and far between. So let's see how the interview goes in our suit of armour and a mouthful of bugs and worms. Carl hurried to the set. So this is Rachel May. approach her. Well, of course, since we've been headbutting the closet door, well, we've only got one choice here. I have to forget her name. Yeah, hello. Carl's ears began to ring from his concussion. Yep, that can happen, I can tell you. Okay, she was a little bit confused, but otherwise she's okay. So before she noticed the glazed look in Carl's eyes, the producer approached. Time to get started, he said, putting a hand on Carl's shoulder. Let's get stationed. Carl sat in the nearest chair. Rachel, her seat stolen, sat in the host chair. I don't know who's nicked it. Right, here we go. I went off the seating, just to be watched by, and the cameras clicked on. So what's going to happen here, sitting on our suit of armour and a belly full of maggots. Good morning, everyone, said Carl. My name is... Carl made a desperate effort to remember his name, or really anything. Suit of armour, amnesia. You can see where this is going. Carl looked at Rachel. Do you know who I am? He asked. Rachel looked back, confused. Who are you? Well, if you're not Kyle, I don't know who you are. Rachel smiled sweetly. Carl made his mind up that he was probably Kyle, and that's probably a good thing. He said, I'm Kyle. A long silence followed. Eventually, Rachel spoke again. And I'm Rachel. Hi, everyone, she waved. Hi, Rachel, said Carl. So, why are you here? Rachel was visibly worried. Funny, she said. Were you planning on asking me any questions? I mean, I don't have any idea, said Carl. Carl kept staring at Rachel. Very unnerving. Someone coughed. Carl looked round and noticed the crew. Who on earth are all of you? He asked. Nobody answered. Carl got out of his chair and walked off frame, leaving Rachel alone with millions of viewers. Rachel attempted to entertain the audience herself. Eventually, the producer ended the broadcast early due to technical issues. Carl woke up in his bed the next day, remembering nothing about what had happened. So that's two that we've unlocked there. We'll do a few more of these. A lot of the writing is very much of this kind of humour in this game. It's very much the kind of, I suppose, a Stuart Ashen type humour, I think, in this one. If those of you who've read one of Ashen's old stories online called The Dissemination, definitely go back and check that one out. And we'll go back and play a few more of these. Of course, I'll put a link to this game in the description if you want to try and explore some of the endings yourself, but I think we'll do a couple of more, so let's reset. Okay, and see what else we can do. And what happens if we click Wither Away? Oh, okay, there we go. That's a very short one. Carl decided to stay put and wither away. Carl withered successfully and died. Oh, shucks. Carl is now a ghost. This does not relieve him of his responsibilities. Okay, so now we're going to conduct the interview as a ghost. Well, let's get out of bed anyway. Carl exited his bed and took a quick glance around his bedroom. Let's go to sit at his desk. What was in the desk drawer? We never looked at that last time. So we've got some sorted change, a flashlight, and a small key. Okay, let's get the key and have a look. Let's have a look in the hallway and check the locked door. So now we've got the key. And I've just realised we don't need the key because we can float through as a ghost. Completely forgot about that one. So Carl used his ghostly powers to walk straight through the door. Kyle found himself in the room he stashed the various items sent to him by fans. We can check a sewing machine, a supernatural artifact, or get a laser claymore. A laser claymore mine, I presume? Let's have a look at that one. Expecting a battle, Kyle grabbed the laser claymore. Let's go back to the room. We are still a ghost, obviously. So let's might as well just leave our apartment. So we've got quite a bit of time actually here. So should we go back and check in with our neighbour? Or should we visit the tech store? Let's go and talk to our neighbour. In our ghostly form, she might get absolutely scared. We can consume Gabby. Well, obviously ghosts can't eat anything because they don't have teeth. Let's start a conversation. Good morning, neighbourino, said Kyle, suddenly turning into Ned Flanders from The Simpsons. Gabby looked at Kyle expectantly, so ask Gabby about Kyle ourselves, ask Gabby about Rachel, or ask Gabby about Gabby. Let's do that then. Gabby, asked Kyle, tell me about yourself. He's interviewing her for some reason. Gabby stiffened. Oh, you know, she said, putting on a fake smile. I just sit around here. Yes, I don't get around much. Never go out at night, just stay here. Just like yours truly here, sitting here recording YouTube videos of free browser games. But anyway, yes, I don't get around much. Never go out at night, just stay here, right here. Gabby glared at Kyle. Convinced by Gabby's statement, Kyle bid a goodbye and returned to the street. Let's go back to the tech store and let's steal Techno Jim. Quickly, before the attendant could acknowledge him, Carl grabbed Techno Jim by the shoulders. Again, I don't know how he's done that, managing as a ghost. Okay, finding that Techno Jim's cardboard feet were bolted to the ground, Carl started to pull upwards forcefully. After several tugs, Techno Jim broke free, leaving one foot and one leg behind. Carl glanced at the attendant, who was staring, bewildered, and ran out there, outside even. Continue, Vardo. We've only got one click left. Carl walked out into the middle of the road and took a pondering, long look around him. There's not much we can do. Well, we can't really return to our apartment, so let's see what happens with Showtime this time, as we are a ghost with a laser mine. And, yeah, per normal. Oh, he ceased to be a ghost before he arrived. Okay, we don't know what kind of TV program is this. Obviously, it's practicing necromancy. Very interesting. Okay, so, yep, Rachel, approach her. And I thought we'd done that. Yes, we were a ghost and we did get into our closet. Rachel's smile quickly turned to shock as she realised that Carl had not put clothes on that day. Carl waved and smiled broadly. Rachel comfortably averted her eyes, and though to be fair, the script hasn't said what he's waving at her with. Yes, I'm implying that he's doing willycopters. Carl started making his rounds around the room, greeting each crew member, none of whom looked at him directly. As it became Carl had no intention of leaving, Rachel made some excuses and exited the set. Oh dear, one by one the crew followed suit and Carl was left all alone, naked in a television studio. Can't say I've ever done that. The end. That's the nudist ending. Oh dear, well that's 3 of 21 endings. Let's go back and I'm gonna go to the desk, check in the drawer, grab the key, back to our desk as well, back to the room, go into the hallway and go through the locked door. Okay, well we can't. Okay, we've got the key, but for some reason we can't use it. Okay, let's go back to the hallway. Go to the kitchen. Let's have a look at the pantry. We haven't been in there yet. Oh, right, that's it. We used the pantry door with the small key, not the room with the laser mine. Again, I think I might have to go back to that one and see what that does. Let's unlock the pantry. The pantry door lock creaked as if it had moved for years, but eventually opened. Let's look in the pantry. Okay, instead of an assortment of canned goods and grains, Carl's pantry stored his massive amount of bottled lard. Should we grab a bottle of lard or should we chug one? That'll be our breakfast. Carl voraciously grabbed the closest bottle, snapped the neck against the wall, and sucked out all the fat within a minute. We can stop or we can chug another one. I wonder what happens if we chug too much. Carl wildly chugged down another bottle. He felt very sick. Let's have another one. Carl's vomit and the lard were mixing in a way which made it hard to tell which is which. Okay, let's finish off the pantry. As Carl finished the last bottle of lard, he felt a wave of accomplishment come over him. So, back to the kitchen, back to the hallway. I think we better go back and put some clothes on, so let's go into the closet and choose an outfit. What haven't we had? We had the suit and armour. Skunk pasties. I don't know what that means. Let's do the jeans and the swimming goggles. Carl decided on a fashion-forward casual style. He could barely see out of the goggles. I dare say good. Right, let's leave our apartment. Let's visit the downstairs neighbour. What happens if we eat the neighbour? Because we already consumed a large bottle of lard or two. Carl unhinged his jaw and swallowed Gabby whole. I didn't realise he was a snake as well. Right, job done. Carl returned to the middle of the street. Let's go back to the hallway. No, we're back into the studio. So Carl hurried to the set. Yep, Rachel's in there as well. Yes, good evening, Carl. Just looked him in the eyes. I've been looking forward to being here. Carl, let's scream and spin round in circles and see what happens. He was interrupted by his producer telling him and Rachel it was time to start the show. Oh, you spoil sport. Start the interview. Yeah, there we go. Broadcast. That happens here. Good evening, everyone, said Carl, looking at the camera. Carl introduced Rachel. Carl vomited all of the horrible things he'd eaten earlier onto the floor. So that's a lard, bucket and a person. Rachel looked at Carl, concerned, gave a couple of coughs and decided to play it cool and keep the show running. The show must go on as always. Carl stopped, then vomited again, then continued with a shaky voice. Tonight I have the pleasure of interviewing the lovely Rachel May, who needs no more introduction. Carl motioned to Rachel, who smiled and waved at the camera. Hello, Carl. Glad to be here. We've been through this. Let's just jump right in. We haven't made any notes, so never mind. Yep, so we've done that. Knowing he had to... there was millions of people upon him. Carl had to come up with a solution quickly so he can play dead run away or blame our interviewee for a lack of notes. Let's play dead. Carl slumped in his seat and played dead. Carl, what are you up to? Asked Rachel, still smiling. Carl did not respond and hoped nobody would ask questions. Kyle, why are you pretending to be dead? Asked Rachel. I can see you breathing. Kyle held his breath. The producer whispered to Rachel over her earpiece. Give him a couple of slaps across the face and see if he wakes up. Kyle got up from her chair, walked over to... Rachel even got up from her chair, walked over to Carl and slapped him firmly across the face. Rachel slapped Carl continuously, trying to get him to stop play acting. Other members of the crew stepped into frame to start slapping Carl as well. Remember that scene from the film Airplane, where everyone was trying to slap the hysterical passenger? I can imagine it's a bit like that. Soon, Carl was lost in the amassment of people around him, all slapping his face with both hands. The slapping went on for many hours, and Kyle did not wake up. Eventually, Carl did not need to pretend to be unconscious, because he was already dead. Oh, goodness me. Okay, we're going to have one more playthrough, I think, and then I will leave this up to you, the good viewer, to go through the rest of this yourself and see what other endings you can come up with. We've got, what was it, 4 out of 7? Okay, so we'll exit the bed and we'll go to our desk. Is there anything else we haven't done? We'll check in the desk drawer. Sorted change. Let's grab the flashlight and see what happens. With after jiggling the switch, you found out it was out of batteries. Let's write some notes. Is your mother a mother? Everything in the whole reg raw. And I purposely ran over a puppy. Are you guilty? We'll go for the Paxman approach to that one. And we've checked in the desk drawer. I think we've only got 18 hours. Grab the change. Go back to the desk. Go back to the room. Let's grab ourselves a suit. What haven't we worn yet? What are the skunk pasties, I wonder? Let's go for that one. Ooh, Carl chose the pasties made out of mashed skunk flesh. Getting the slimy garments to stay proved difficult, so Carl opted to stick them to his body with hot glue. I bet that hurt. So Carl exit bedroom to hallway. Should we go to the kitchen? Open the fridge. Eat condiments. What happens if we eat the fridge? Oh, go on then. Let's eat the fridge. Carl pointed his neck directly and hoisted the fridge on top of his face. Somehow, miraculously, he wrapped his mouth around the device he started to swallow. Oh, blimey. Okay. In one slow, horrible movement, the fridge slid down Carl's throat. After many gurgles, pops and snaps, Carl felt relatively sure the fridge would not come back out. Okay, so we've eaten the fridge. Let's leave our apartment. And we haven't got time to visit the neighbour or the stores. Let's just return to the apartment and see what our final interview of this playthrough does. So he's hurried to the set. Again, there's Rachel. And I wonder what she's going to think of our skunk outfit. We'll answer her politely. In this one, we'll shake hands with her. Yeah, here we go. Right, here we go. Let's start the broadcast. And we've eaten the fridge and we're wearing a skunk suit. Okay, so Carl introduces Rachel. Oh, Carl vomited all the horrible things he'd eaten earlier onto the floor, which just consists of a fridge this time. Okay, so concerned. Once again, shaky voice. What are our options this time? Okay, so we've got the questions. Let's see what these questions do. I'm very ready, said Rachel with a winning smile. It's not going to be winning for very much longer. Okay, what we're going to do? We'll start with the Sylvester Stallone question. Ever eaten a whole egg raw? Hey Rachel, ever eaten a whole egg raw? Asked Kyle. Like shell and all? Asked Rachel. Kyle continued. I have, like a lot. It's really bad though, so sometimes I spit it back up. There was a silence. I'm not surprised. But it actually gets easier the more you do it, continued Carl, without losing momentum. So don't start, I say. Rachel chose not to answer and look in another direction. So Carl asked another question. We'll go for that one. Is your mother a mother? So, said Kyle, my mother is my mother, my mother's mother is her mother, and my mother's mother. Try saying that when you're drunk. And many mothers had mother's mother's mother. Is your mother a mother? Rachel went to answer and stopped. I believe, she said eventually, that I should answer yes. Carl asked another question. Are you guilty? Carl threw his questions on the floor, stood up, and pointed at her. Rachel's eye twitched slightly. Guilty of what, dear Carl? She smiled disingenuously. Guilty, spat Carl, of your crimes. Rachel did not answer. Her eyelids both started twitching uncontrollably. Shall we go on to the last question or call the police? Carl pulled out his phone. Dial the police. Hello, police, said Carl. I have found the criminal. Rachel began to run towards the exit. On her way, she swatted Carl's phone out of his hand. Carl stuck out his leg and Rachel took him and crushed him. In a moment, she caught her feet. She drew a plump weapon seemingly out of thin air and started to swing her from Carl had a chance to rouse him. His figure burst through the room and blocked Rachel's attack. A bit later on in the bug-shaped mass of information, she began to fight with Rachel, licking her back with surprising speed. Rachel fought her. It was obvious that she was no match for the interceptor. The bug vigilante held her high above her head and drove it straight into Rachel's back. She fell Rachel was charged with 7 cases of grand larceny. After her first month in jail, Rachel started a reality TV show filmed about her cell about prison cooking. The show gained immense popularity, and somehow the public began to fall in love with Rachel all the more. Carl made guest appearances on Rachel's show many times. The identity of the bug vigilante was never known. She remained a mysterious but important part of local law enforcement. Rachel started a new show, and it seems like we had, well, not so much Batman, but Bugman. Well, that's 5 out of the 21 endings that we've unlocked, and I'll leave you to go and try and find the rest. As I say, I will put the link to this game in the description. Of course, you can also download the extended version of this game on Steam, and I may leave a link to that as well. And of course, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click the like button, share and subscribe. This has been the Ranting Brummie, and stay safe, take care, have an awesome day, and I'll see you in the next video.